Interpreters have been essential since ancient times, facilitating communication between different communities and kingdoms during trade. In the modern era, despite advanced technology, interpreters remain crucial. Globalization has intensified the need for understanding between nations, underscoring the importance of skilled interpreters. From social services and the judiciary to brands and governments, interpreters enable effective communication to convey messages accurately across languages. This gives me a great segue to introduce our first guest. She's a highly experienced lawyer linguist, non-practicing, and that's because she's got new endeavors underway and under her belt. She'll speak on the best practices for communicating through an interpreter, emphasizing interpreter value and timely material provision. Welcome, Sue Leschen.
Thank you very much for the invitation to today's event. It's a great honor for me to be here. So I've got some slides. I'm going to share them now with you. That's the one. That should be it. Can you see that?
We can, but we can see your screen, but not the slides. So you just need to select the slides and click on them so they're full screen.
Okay.
There we go. Just need to make it full screen and we're underway.
Can you see that?
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay,
Please,
good.
go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so best practices for communicating through an interpreter. And this is in no particular order, and I'm going to have to speak fairly fast because we've only got a few minutes each to speak. So bear with me. As has been mentioned, I'm a lawyer linguist, non-practicing lawyer. I'm a fellow of the Institute of Translation and Interpreting and also of the Chartered Institute of Linguists in the UK. And I'm a member of the Chartered Institute of Linguists Interpreting Division Steering Group. I'm a member of the National Register of Public Service Interpreters, of the Association of Interpreters and Translators, both in the UK, and also of the International Association of Professional Translators and Interpreters. I sit on a Sign Language Interpreters Professional Conduct Committee for an organisation in the UK called the National Registers of Communication Professionals working with deaf and deafblind people. I have Chartered Linguist Interpreter status, and I have my own company based in the northwest of England called Avocat, Legal and Business French Interpreting and Translation. I'm an independent trainer, mainly in the areas of legal terminology and increasing the lots of mentees for the Chartered Institute of Linguist Diploma in Public Service Interpreting Law exam. I do a lot of one-to-one, mainly online business mentoring for new and practicing language professionals. So I can help you, for example, prepare your terms and conditions of business. Basically, what we're looking for as interpreters from our clients is an interpreter-friendly approach. That's not to say we always get it. Sometimes we do have clients from hell. These are to be avoided. And I think the message that we want to get out there to clients is we want good quality clients who will pay us, and that means pay us on time and pay us reasonable remuneration, stay with us, be loyal, and also, of course, refer us. So we want to be recognized as valuable assets who can facilitate communication. What a lot of people don't realize is, and some clients don't realize, to be honest, that without us, they are unable to communicate. We want to be respected. We want to be considered to be business partners. We want to be considered to be equals. We want to be working together with clients on a level business playing field. The reality, unfortunately, is often that we have a sort of David and Goliath situation where power is concentrated in the hands of the client. What we want from clients really in order to facilitate our roles as communicators is proper job descriptions up front. We need to know what the timings are, what sort of duties are expected of us. which kind of skills are required, and so on. We don't need this halfway through the job or even after the job's finished when there's a dispute. We need it well in advance. So really, it's a question of negotiating terms and conditions up front as to all manner of issues. And I think that this doesn't always happen, unfortunately. I do believe that negotiation should be equal. I quite like this approach, though, the art of letting the other side have it your way. I'm joking there, but negotiation should really involve we get something out of negotiation and we give something. We want to be respected as skilled, qualified, insured, security vetted, and experienced communication professionals. Hopefully, most of us out there have got good professional indemnity insurance. We are security vetted to a reasonable level. For example, in the UK, disclosure and barring service enhanced certificates. Some of us who work in more sensitive areas have higher levels of security, for example, counter-terrorist checks and also security checks. So really what we're offering and what we want to be considered to be is professional individuals. We are, some of us experts, some of us are specialists, we are highly competent, we have good reputations, we are reliable, we have knowledge, we have qualifications. We are not machines. Just because something goes in there, it doesn't necessarily come out automatically from the other ear. We need preparation and all the rest of it. We also need regular and frequent rest and comfort breaks. Only yesterday, I was working online with the client on a 2-hour assignment, and I was actually being told that there would be no breaks because it was only for 2 hours. To which I said, sorry, no way, Jose. I need a break towards the end of the first hour at the very least. And when I said that the longer I'm online, the more the risk is that there could be errors, that was what seemed to convince him. So I did get my break, 5 minutes, but it was better than nothing. Otherwise, we're going to end up like this, depending on what our personal and professional other circumstances are. And this is not a good state to be in. So we want provision promptly of all relevant materials that we need in order to properly prepare for assignments. We don't need them the night before at midnight, or as happened to me on one assignment not long ago. It was an all-day assignment, a business interpreting job actually, and I was getting materials for the afternoon speakers during lunch. So when I was expected to eat and relax, I have no idea. So what we should be doing as interpreters, frankly, is saying to clients, we want the materials by, say, noon on the 21st, failing which we either will be withdrawing from the assignment, or if we do go ahead, the client must realize that we are not properly prepared and that there is a risk to that. There's a risk to the client. And, actually for us interpreters, there's a risk, isn't there, for our reputations as well. Because many sessions are now increasingly recorded, and if we're not performing correctly because we haven't been properly prepared, then our reputations are seriously endangered. I always say to my mentees, a good interpreter is a prepared interpreter. I can think of a case where I was interpreting on a business compensation matter in court, and it was all to do with a broken conveyor belt. I didn't even understand the terminology, the technical stuff in English, let alone in French. And I'd begged the lawyers up front for that beforehand. I'd been promised it and it didn't arrive. So I spent most of the hearing asking the barristers, can you please explain this and explain that? And the judge actually was really sympathetic to me and criticized the barristers. If there are going to be PowerPoints and YouTube videos and so on, we need to see them up front. If there are website details that could be helpful, we need those. So basically, we should not be in a situation where there are resources available to us, but we're not being given them. And the sort of common excuse is, oh, it's confidential. We can't, give them up front, because they're just for the client won't release them and all this sort of thing. But, I think we all old enough and wise enough now to know that there are secure online portals, and we could be being given this information. We want prompt remuneration because we too have bills to pay. 60 days is rubbish. 30 days, certainly in the UK, is good business practice. Sooner if you can get it. Deposits are good. Translators have got a history, as far as I'm aware, in the UK, of getting deposits up front. And I think a lot more interpreters are doing that now where we're working privately. 50% is good. If you can get 100% up front, and I know some colleagues are now going down that route, that's even better, especially where you don't know the client, and it's a bit of a risk if you work for them and then they can't pay. So we want to get all that sorted well in advance. We want fair remuneration practices, because if we haven't got those, we simply can't pay our bills. We're not monkeys. We're not working for peanuts. Time is money, and a lot of us get very fed up with being asked to do extra half an hours, or to start to log on 20 minutes in advance of an online session, completely unpaid. Why should we? It's a freebie basically for the client. If I added up how many times in a week I'm expected to work for free, it would be several hours actually. So I think we need to really get over that we're business people. We're running businesses, not charities. Just to alert you to an event tomorrow that I'm presenting on behalf of the Chartered Institute of Linguists, called Time is Money, very appropriate. It's a focus session. It's really interactive. I know we've got a few places left. It's only, I think, £35 sterling, 1.5 hours. So please come and work out how we can best use time and get paid for it. So I think we need to put out there an understanding of what interpreters do and actually what we don't do. We're not friends. We're not allowed to give opinions and so on. This is a big bugbear that we're constantly being mixed up, of course, with translators. Although sometimes it's worse than that. We can be signed up for an interpreting job and then actually been asked to, in the middle of it at some point, do a translation as well. Why should we? We haven't been booked to do that. I think it's really important that it's realized that there are things that we cannot and should not be doing because of our codes of practice and ethics. We are not allowed to give our opinion on whether we think the client comes from Iran or Sudan or whatever, or whether we think they're lying or they're not. Most of us have signed up, like myself, to professional organizations, membership organizations, National Register of Public Service Interpreters, and so on, all of whom have robust codes of conduct that we professional interpreters abide by. We want detailed instructions about subject matter up front, because the job could be about this, or it could be about money laundering, or it could be emotionally sensitive, traumatic, maybe for personal reasons we don't want to go there. We want to know where we're working. If it's a large building, where in the building, in case we get lost, run out of time. Is there parking there? All these kind of basic considerations. Is it on the phone? Is it anywhere? Can we do the job from anywhere? If you're a bit of a digital nomad, I know this is increasing. Sound of the sea might be an issue. Is it a court? Is it a Crown Court? Here it is, clearly, because we've got a jury. Need to know. Is it remote interpreting in the same building but in another room, or is it remote interpreting from a completely different destination? Which sort of language or languages and language directions are appropriate for this job? Is it, for example, for me, mainline metropolitan French, or is it so-called African French? African French is often being asked for those of us who work with asylum seekers and refugees, and actually it means that you're very familiar with Congolese culture and so on, and Cameroon culture. African French doesn't really exist, but agencies don't really know that. Who's going to be there? Child as a client, maybe, in which case things can change dramatically in terms of your language, your dress code, all sorts of things. Might there be a delegate from the French office? Might there be other interpreters because you've got a partner interpreter, or there are other languages need to know? Might you have a deaf client who may need foreign language interpreting? We need need to know information about assignments that are incredibly specialized. I mean, maybe it's to do with nuclear power, for example, very, very particular terminology. It could be a niche market event, for example, London Fashion Week is on the go at the moment. You know, I've got colleagues who interpret in fashion. I wouldn't have a clue, although I like fashion, but you know, it's about picking the right interpreter, having a good match for the job. You know, are you wanting a sort of generalist or a skilled interpreter? Well, I mean, I would hope they were skilled. Specialists, okay, they do a bit of dabbling in this area, or really do you want somebody highly expert, experienced in this area? What about timings? We need to be really specific. Are we talking about GMT or Central European time, start and finish times? I mean, basic information, but you'd be surprised how often we're not told these things. When are the break times? When are the refreshment times? Are we going to be able to eat, or do we have to work through to help clients understand each other when they're eating? Is it out of hours at any point? What do we consider to be out of hours? We want to be paid for tech tests. Increasingly, they're not paid, unfortunately, but we want to test out audio and video issues and any background noise like speakers speaking, eating or whatever next to the mic. And we want to be paid for this time, because tests can run for half an hour sometimes or more. Equipment, who's providing it, us or the client? When we get there, are we going to be using a tour guide system? Headphones, who's going to provide them? Portable or on-site booths, etc. Some clients may specify which type of headphones. Finally, now on to non-disclosure agreements, NDAs. They've got to be reasonable in time. You know, we must not be allowed to not work for a client for, say, the next 6 years. It's too long. Place, we must be allowed to work in the Greater London area, you know, within the next year or two. Longer than that is unreasonable. Big bugbear. It's very difficult to comply with an instruction to destroy all of the client's materials. How on earth do we do that?
Sue, forgive my interruption. We are out of time now.
I bet we are.
I was wondering if you could just give it a wrap up so that we can keep to schedule.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, that's really interesting to hear. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
You know, the impacts on interpreters and some of the solutions that could be put forward for this. That was really, really clear as to what kind of environment you want to create in each workspace.